Super Bowl I, held on January 15, 1967, at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, kicked off the Super Bowl era by pitting the champions of the NFL and AFL against each other. The Green Bay Packers, led by legendary coach Vince Lombardi and quarterback Bart Starr, dominated the Kansas City Chiefs with a convincing 35-10 win. Starr was named the game's first ever MVP. Interestingly, this was the only Super Bowl in history that didn't sell out. Super Bowl II took place on January 14, 1968, at the Orange Bowl in Miami, and once again showcased the Packers' dominance. Green Bay beat the Oakland Raiders 33-14, with Bart Starr earning MVP honors for the second straight year. This game marked Vince Lombardi's final appearance as the Packers head coach, closing out a golden era for the franchise. At the time, the victory helped solidify the NFL's superiority over the AFL. Super Bowl III, played on January 12, 1969, also at the Orange Bowl, became one of the most iconic games in football history. The New York Jets shocked the world by upsetting the heavily favored Baltimore Colts 16-7. Jets quarterback Joe Namath famously guaranteed a win days before the game and delivered, earning MVP honors. It was the AFL's first victory over an NFL team in a Super Bowl, completely shifting public perception of the two leagues' competitiveness. Super Bowl IV, played on January 11, 1970, in New Orleans, saw the Kansas City Chiefs take control and defeat the Minnesota Vikings 23-7. Quarterback Len Dawson was named MVP after efficiently leading the Chiefs' offense. The win was a big boost for the AFL's reputation, coming just months before the full merger with the NFL. It was also the final Super Bowl before the league officially became one unified organization. Super Bowl V, held on January 17, 1971, in Miami, became known as the Blunder Bowl due to the high number of mistakes by both teams. The Baltimore Colts edged out the Dallas Cowboys 16-13 in a sloppy, turnover-filled game. In a rare twist, the MVP award went to Chuck Howley, a linebacker for the Cowboys, making him the only player in Super Bowl history to win MVP while playing for the losing team. Super Bowl VI, played on January 16, 1972, also in New Orleans, marked the Dallas Cowboys' first championship. They dominated the Miami Dolphins 24-3, with quarterback Roger Staubach earning MVP honors after leading a sharp and commanding offensive performance. The game was defined by the Cowboys' suffocating defense. This victory kicked off a decade of dominance for Dallas. Super Bowl VII, played on January 14, 1973, in Los Angeles, was won by the Miami Dolphins, who beat the Washington Redskins 14-7. With that victory, the Dolphins completed the only perfect season in NFL history, winning all 17 games without a single loss. Safety Jake Scott was named MVP. To this day, no other team has managed to go undefeated and win the Super Bowl. Super Bowl VIII, held on January 13, 1974, in Houston, saw the Dolphins repeat as champions, this time defeating the Minnesota Vikings 24-7. Miami's powerhouse running back Larry Kasonka earned MVP honors after dominating on the ground. It was the second straight title for head coach Don Shula's squad. This was also the first Super Bowl ever played in a college stadium. Super Bowl IX, played on January 12, 1975, in New Orleans, marked the Pittsburgh Steelers' first ever championship. They beat the Vikings 16-6 in a gritty, defense-heavy battle. Running back Franco Harris was named MVP after a standout performance. Played under poor weather conditions, the game was one of the most defensively intense in Super Bowl history. It also signaled the beginning of the Steelers dynasty in the 1970s. Super Bowl X, played on January 18, 1976, was the first epic showdown between the Steelers and Cowboys, with Pittsburgh edging out a 21-17 win in the heat of Miami. Lynn Swann was named MVP after racking up 161 receiving yards with a series of acrobatic highlight reel catches, the first time a wide receiver ever won the award. Swann's performance went on to inspire generations of receivers. This game is still considered one of the all-time Super Bowl classics. Super Bowl XI, held on January 9, 1977, in Pasadena, saw the Oakland Raiders dominate the Minnesota Vikings 32-14. It was Minnesota's fourth Super Bowl loss, and Fred Biletnikoff earned MVP honors thanks to a string of clutch receptions. With this win, the Raiders became the first original AFL team to win a Super Bowl after the merger. Physical play and a tough defense set the tone for Oakland's victory. Super Bowl 12, played on January 15, 1978 in New Orleans, featured the Dallas Cowboys cruising past the Denver Broncos 27-10. For the first and only time in Super Bowl history, the MVP award was shared by defensive linemen Harvey Martin and Randy White. The Broncos committed a staggering 8 turnovers, still a Super Bowl record for most by one team. It's widely remembered as one of the worst offensive performances in the game's history. Super Bowl 13, played on January 21, 1979, was a rematch between the Steelers and Cowboys, with Pittsburgh coming out on top in a thrilling 35-31 win. Terry Bradshaw threw 4 touchdown passes and was named MVP. The game is remembered as one of the most competitive and evenly matched Super Bowls ever. It also marked the Steelers' 3rd championship in just 5 years. Super Bowl 14, held on January 20, 1980 at the Rose Bowl, cemented the Steelers' dynasty as they defeated the Los Angeles Rams 31-19. Bradshaw was once again named MVP after throwing for over 300 yards. This game drew the largest crowd in Super Bowl history, with over 103,000 fans in attendance. It was Pittsburgh's 4th title in 6 seasons. Super Bowl 15, played on January 25, 1981, in New Orleans, crowned the Raiders as champions after a 27-10 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. Jim Plunkett, who had entered the season as a long shot, was named MVP. He became just the 2nd Hispanic quarterback to win a Super Bowl. The Raiders also made history as the first wild-card team to win the championship. Super Bowl 16, played on January 24, 1982, saw the San Francisco 49ers defeat the Cincinnati Bengals 26-21 in Pontiac, Michigan. Joe Montana led the team with poise and precision, earning MVP honors. It was the franchise's first Super Bowl title. The game drew a record-setting audience at the time, with over 85 million viewers tuning in. Super Bowl 17, held on January 30, 1983, in Pasadena, featured Washington beating the Miami Dolphins 27-17. Running back John Riggins was named MVP after rushing for 166 yards, including a legendary 4th down touchdown run that became one of the most iconic plays in Super Bowl history. It marked Washington's first championship under that name. Super Bowl 18, played on January 22, 1984, showcased a dominant performance by the Raiders, who crushed Washington 38-9. Marcus Allen ran for 191 yards and 2 touchdowns, earning MVP honors. His 74-yard touchdown, featuring a dramatic cutback across the field, remains one of the most memorable runs in Super Bowl lore. It was the Raiders' 3rd Super Bowl title. Super Bowl 19, played on January 20, 1985, at Stanford Stadium, featured a much-anticipated quarterback duel between Joe Montana and Dan Marino. The 49ers dominated the Dolphins 38-16, with Montana once again taking home MVP honors. President Ronald Reagan took part in the coin toss ceremony via satellite. This was also the first Super Bowl to be broadcast live around the world. Super Bowl 20, held on January 26, 1986, was a blowout victory for the Chicago Bears, who crushed the New England Patriots 46-10. Defensive end Richard Dent earned MVP honors for his relentless performance. The Bears' defense from that season is still considered one of the greatest in NFL history. To date, it remains the franchise's only Super Bowl title. Super Bowl 21, played on January 25, 1987, in Pasadena, saw the New York Giants defeat the Denver Broncos 39-20. Quarterback Phil Simms was named MVP after completing an incredible 22 of 25 passes, one of the most efficient performances by a quarterback in Super Bowl history. It marked the Giants' first Super Bowl championship. Super Bowl 22, played on January 31, 1988, in San Diego, was a landmark moment in NFL history thanks to Doug Williams, who became the first black quarterback to win Super Bowl MVP. He led Washington to a dominant 42-10 win over the Denver Broncos. In an explosive second quarter, Washington scored 35 points, a Super Bowl record for the most points in a single quarter. Williams threw 4 touchdown passes during that stretch. Super Bowl 23, held on January 22, 1989, featured one of the most memorable comebacks in Super Bowl history. Joe Montana orchestrated a flawless final drive to lead the 49ers to a 20-16 win over the Bengals. Wide receiver Jerry Rice was named MVP after racking up 215 receiving yards. The game also marked the final appearance of legendary head coach Bill Walsh on the 49ers sideline. Super Bowl 24, played on January 28, 1990, was a record-setting blowout as the 49ers demolished the Broncos 55-10. Joe Montana threw 5 touchdown passes and earned his 3rd Super Bowl MVP. The 45-point margin remains the most lopsided score in Super Bowl history. It was Montana's 4th championship and San Francisco's 3rd title in just 8 seasons. Super Bowl 25, played on January 27, 1991, is best remembered for Scott Norwood's missed field goal in the final seconds, sealing a 20-19 win for the New York Giants over the Buffalo Bills. Running back Otis Anderson was named MVP after a strong performance on the ground. The game took place during the Gulf War, and Whitney Houston's rendition of the national anthem became an iconic moment in Super Bowl and American pop culture history. Super Bowl 26, held on January 26, 1992, saw Washington defeat the Bills 37-24, handing Buffalo its 2nd straight Super Bowl loss. Quarterback Mark Rypien earned MVP honors after throwing for 292 yards and 2 touchdowns. Washington's win further solidified the NFC's dominance at the time. It was also head coach Joe Gibbs' 3rd Super Bowl title with 3 different starting quarterbacks. Super Bowl 27, played on January 31, 1993, marked the beginning of the Dallas Cowboys' 1990s dynasty. Dallas crushed the Bills 52-17, forcing an incredible 9 turnovers. Quarterback Troy Aikman was named MVP after throwing 4 touchdown passes. It was Buffalo's 3rd consecutive Super Bowl loss, and unfortunately, they weren't done yet. Super Bowl 28, played on January 30, 1994, was a rematch of the previous year, with the Dallas Cowboys once again defeating the Buffalo Bills, this time by a score of 30-13. Emmitt Smith was named MVP after rushing for over 130 yards and scoring 2 touchdowns. The Bills became the only team in NFL history to lose 4 straight Super Bowls. Dallas's defense took over in the second half, shutting Buffalo down. Super Bowl 29, held on January 29, 1995, in Miami, was a blowout as the San Francisco 49ers crushed the San Diego Chargers 49-26. Steve Young was named MVP after throwing a record-setting 6 touchdown passes, finally stepping out of Joe Montana's shadow with a performance for the ages. The win made San Francisco the first team to capture 5 Super Bowl titles. Super Bowl 30, played on January 28, 1996, saw the Dallas Cowboys defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-17, securing the franchise's 5th Super Bowl title. Cornerback Larry Brown was named MVP after picking off 2 key passes, turnovers that sealed the game. His standout performance earned him a massive free agent contract with another team shortly after. It was the Cowboys' 3rd championship in 4 years, capping off their 1990s dominance. Super Bowl 31, played on January 26, 1997, in New Orleans, marked the Green Bay Packers' return to glory as they defeated the New England Patriots 35-21. Wide receiver Desmond Howard was named MVP after a game-changing kickoff return touchdown and more than 240 all-purpose yards. To this day, he's the only special teams player ever to win Super Bowl MVP honors. Super Bowl 32, held on January 25, 1998, saw the Denver Broncos pull off an upset over the defending champion Packers, winning 31-24. Running back Terrell Davis earned MVP honors after rushing for 157 yards and 3 touchdowns, despite playing much of the game while battling a severe migraine. The win ended the AFC's 13-game losing streak in Super Bowls and gave quarterback John Elway his long-awaited first championship. Super Bowl 33, played on January 31, 1999, saw the Broncos claim back-to-back titles with a 34-19 win over the Atlanta Falcons. Quarterback John Elway, playing in his final NFL game, was named MVP after a steady performance that included a rushing touchdown. He retired shortly after as one of the all-time greats. It was Denver's 2nd straight Super Bowl victory and a storybook ending to Elway's career. Super Bowl 34, played on January 30, 2000, delivered one of the most dramatic finishes in Super Bowl history. The St. Louis Rams defeated the Tennessee Titans 23-16. with quarterback Kurt Warner earning MVP honors after throwing for 414 yards. The game ended in thrilling fashion as Titans receiver Kevin Dyson was tackled just 1 yard short of the end zone on the final play. It was the Rams' first Super Bowl title. Super Bowl 35, held on January 28, 2001, was all about the Baltimore Ravens defense, which dominated the New York Giants in a 34-7 rout. Linebacker Ray Lewis was named MVP for his leadership and outstanding defensive performance. The Ravens' defense that season is still regarded as one of the greatest of all time. The Giants' offense was completely shut out. New York's only touchdown came on a kick return. Super Bowl 36, played on February 3, 2002, marked the beginning of the New England Patriots dynasty. In his first season as a starter, Tom Brady led the underdog Patriots to a 20-17 win over the heavily favored St. Louis Rams, capped by a last-second field goal. Brady was named MVP. The game was played just months after the September 11th attacks and carried a deeply patriotic tone throughout the broadcast and ceremonies. Super Bowl 37, played on January 26, 2003, saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers completely overwhelm the Oakland Raiders in a 48-21 rout. Tampa's defense forced 5 turnovers and scored 3 defensive touchdowns. Safety Dexter Jackson was named MVP after recording 2 interceptions. In a twist of irony, Bucs head coach John Gruden had been the Raiders' head coach the previous season and had deep insight into Oakland's offensive playbook, an advantage that clearly paid off. Super Bowl 38, held on February 1, 2004, turned into one of the most thrilling Super Bowls ever, with the New England Patriots defeating the Carolina Panthers 32-29 on a clutch, last-second field goal by Adam Vinatieri. Tom Brady was named MVP for the second time after throwing for over 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. The game was also infamous for its halftime show, controversy involving Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake, which sparked national debate and major changes to live TV broadcast standards. Super Bowl 39, played on February 6, 2005, solidified the Patriots' early 2000s dominance as they edged out the Philadelphia Eagles 24-21 in Jacksonville. Wide receiver Deion Branch earned MVP honors with 11 catches for 133 yards. This win gave New England its 3rd Super Bowl title in 4 years, cementing their status as a true NFL dynasty. The game remained tight until the final minutes. Super Bowl 40, played on February 5, 2006, marked the Pittsburgh Steelers' 5th Super Bowl title as they defeated the Seattle Seahawks 21-10. Wide receiver Hines Ward was named MVP after a solid performance, including a 43-yard touchdown catch. The game was played in Detroit, the city's first time hosting since the 1980s. Super Bowl 41, held on February 4, 2007, saw the Indianapolis Colts beat the Chicago Bears 29-17 in a rain-soaked showdown in Miami. Peyton Manning earned his first Super Bowl ring and was named MVP. The game opened with a bang, a kickoff return for a touchdown by Devin Hester, the first in Super Bowl history. It was also the first time 2 black head coaches, Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith, faced off in the big game. Super Bowl 42, played on February 3, 2008, delivered one of the biggest upsets in Super Bowl history. The New York Giants shocked the previously undefeated New England Patriots 17-14, thanks to a clutch game-winning drive led by Eli Manning and the now legendary helmet catch by David Tyree. Manning was named MVP, earning his first title, and, at the time, surpassing his brother Peyton in Super Bowl wins. The Patriots' 18-0 season ended just short of perfection. Super Bowl 43, played on February 1, 2009, was one of the most thrilling Super Bowls of the modern era. The Pittsburgh Steelers edged out the Arizona Cardinals 27-23, thanks to a last-second touchdown pass to Santonio Holmes, who secured MVP honors with an incredible toe tap catch in the corner of the end zone. The game also featured one of the most iconic plays in Super Bowl history, a 100-yard interception return for a touchdown by linebacker James Harrison just before halftime. Super Bowl 44, held on February 7, 2010, saw the New Orleans Saints win their first-ever championship, defeating the Indianapolis Colts 31-17. Drew Brees was named MVP after a flawless performance. One of the game's defining moments came at the start of the second half, when the Saints executed a surprise onside kick that shifted the momentum. The victory was deeply emotional for the city of New Orleans, still recovering from the devastation of Hurricane Katrina just a few years earlier. Super Bowl 45, played on February 6, 2011, crowned the Green Bay Packers as champions after a 31-25 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers was named MVP after throwing 3 touchdown passes and delivering a poised, accurate performance. The Packers became only the second number 6 seed to win the Super Bowl. The broadcast drew a record-breaking audience with over 111 million viewers in the US, the most watched television program in American history at the time. Super Bowl 46, played on February 5, 2012, featured another classic showdown between the New York Giants and the New England Patriots. The Giants came out on top once again, winning 21-17. Eli Manning was named MVP for the second time after leading a clutch game-winning drive in the final minutes. The game's signature moment was a stunning sideline catch by Mario Manningham that helped set up the decisive touchdown. With the win, Eli became the first quarterback to defeat Tom Brady and the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 47, held on February 3, 2013, became known as the Harbaugh Bowl, as brothers Jim and John Harbaugh faced off as head coaches of the 49ers and Ravens, respectively. The Ravens edged out the 49ers 34-31, with Joe Flacco earning MVP honors for his strong performance. The game was also memorable for the power outage at the Superdome, which caused a 30-plus minute delay. After the blackout, San Francisco mounted a furious comeback but ultimately fell short. Super Bowl 48, played on February 2, 2014, was a blowout as the Seattle Seahawks crushed the Denver Broncos 43-8. Seattle's defense, known as the Legion of Boom, completely shut down Peyton Manning and the league's top-ranked offense. Linebacker Malcolm Smith was named MVP after returning an interception for a touchdown and recovering a fumble. It was the Seahawks' first Super Bowl title in franchise history. Super Bowl 49, played on February 1, 2015, ended with one of the most controversial decisions in Super Bowl history. The New England Patriots defeated the Seattle Seahawks 28-24 after Malcolm Butler intercepted a pass at the 1-yard line in the final seconds, a call that stunned fans and analysts alike, as many expected Seattle to run the ball with Marshawn Lynch. Tom Brady was named MVP after throwing 4 touchdown passes. The game drew over 114 million viewers in the US, making it one of the most watched broadcasts in American television history. Super Bowl 50, held on February 7, 2016, marked a break from Roman numerals and saw the Denver Broncos defeat the Carolina Panthers 24-10. Linebacker Von Miller was named MVP after a dominant defensive performance that included 2 forced fumbles. It was the final game of Peyton Manning's legendary career, and he went out on top with his second Super Bowl title. The halftime show featured a star-studded performance by Coldplay, Beyoncé, and Bruno Mars. Super Bowl 51, played on February 5, 2017, delivered the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history. The Patriots trailed the Atlanta Falcons 28-3 in the third quarter, but stormed back to win 34-28 in the first overtime game in Super Bowl history. Tom Brady was named MVP after throwing for 466 yards, completing one of the most remarkable performances of his career. The score, 28-3, has since become an iconic meme in the world of sports. Super Bowl 52, played on February 4, 2018, saw the Philadelphia Eagles capture their first ever Super Bowl title with a 41-33 win over the New England Patriots. Backup quarterback Nick Foles delivered a heroic performance and was named MVP, highlighted by the now legendary Philly special trick play, where Foles caught a touchdown pass. It was the highest-scoring Super Bowl ever, with a combined 74 points. The victory was especially meaningful for the city of Philadelphia and its long-suffering fan base. Super Bowl 53, held on February 3, 2019, was the lowest-scoring Super Bowl in history, with the Patriots defeating the Rams 13-3. Wide receiver Julian Edelman was named MVP after recording 141 receiving yards. While the game was widely criticized for its lack of excitement, it marked Tom Brady's 6th Super Bowl title, more than any player in NFL history. The Patriots' defense was the true MVP, shutting down a high-powered Rams offense. Super Bowl 54, played on February 2020, marked the Kansas City Chiefs' return to glory after a 50-year championship drought. They defeated the San Francisco 49ers 31-20, rallying from a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter. Patrick Mahomes was named MVP after throwing 2 touchdowns and leading a clutch comeback late in the game. The win also gave head coach Andy Reid his long-awaited first Super Bowl title after more than 2 decades in the NFL. Super Bowl 55, played on February 7, 2021, saw Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers dominate the Kansas City Chiefs in a 31-9 victory. Brady won his record-setting 7th Super Bowl title and was named MVP for the 5th time, further solidifying his status as the most decorated athlete in major American sports history. The game was played at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, making the Bucs the first team to win a Super Bowl in their home stadium. Super Bowl 56, held on February 13, 2022, ended with the Los Angeles Rams defeating the Cincinnati Bengals 23-20. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp was named MVP after catching 2 touchdowns, including the game winner in the final minutes. Quarterback Matthew Stafford led a clutch fourth-quarter drive to seal the victory. The halftime show, featuring Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, and Mary J. Blige, was widely praised as one of the best and most nostalgic performances in recent memory. Super Bowl 57, played on February 12, 2023, was an instant classic, with the Kansas City Chiefs edging out the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35 in a tightly contested battle. Despite playing through an ankle injury, Patrick Mahomes led the Chiefs to a comeback win and earned his 2nd Super Bowl MVP award. The game was historic for featuring 2 black starting quarterbacks, Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, for the first time, and for being the first Super Bowl in which 2 brothers, Travis and Jason Kelce, played against each other. Super Bowl 58, played on February 11, 2024, saw the Kansas City Chiefs once again claim the championship, defeating the San Francisco 49ers 25-22 in overtime. Patrick Mahomes was named MVP for the 3rd time, after orchestrating an epic game-winning drive in the extra period. It was only the 2nd Super Bowl in history to go to overtime. With the win, the Chiefs firmly established themselves as the NFL's newest dynasty.